In today's video, I'm going to show you 2 ways to make tantanmen. Japanese ramen in a sesame soy milk based broth topped with spicy ground pork. So let's get started. The first recipe I'm going to show you is the traditional way. Tantanmen is the Japanese adaptation of Szechuan dandan noodles. So it has many of the same ingredients, such as chilies and sesame paste. The main difference between the two is that tantanmen is a brothy noodle soup, while dandan noodles are a saucy noodle dish with no broth. The first thing we're going to work on is the pork. You can either just buy ground pork from the store or grind pork shoulder in the food processor because it's cheap and has a high fat to muscle ratio, so it's perfect for ground pork. Once the pork is ground, heat wok over high heat before adding 1 tablespoon of chili oil. I left a link for the chili oil recipe, as well as both tantanmen recipes in the description below, so make sure to check that out. Add the pork to the wok and cook undisturbed for 3 to 4 minutes so it can brown. Then break up the pork with a spatula or a wooden spoon. Next, add the garlic and ginger and saute quickly for about 1 minute so it still has a bit of its natural flavor. Season the pork with dobanjang, soy sauce, dark soy sauce, and sake. If you don't know what any of those things are, make sure you check out the tantanmen post I have on my blog, because then you will. Cook that for another 3 to 4 minutes until the sauce starts to glaze and sticks to the pork. Remove all but about 1/4 to 1/2 of a cup of the pork in the wok and do not wash it out. That's where all our flavor is going to come from. So leave everything on the side of the wok and pour in equal parts chicken stock and unsweetened, emphasis on the unsweetened, soy milk. Turn up the heat to high so that it comes up to a boil. While that's coming up to a boil, the next thing you're going to do is prep the tare. In Japanese, tare is an umbrella term for several seasonings that are used both in ramen and other dishes. To make this tare, we're going to use 4 tablespoons of nerigoma, Japanese sesame paste, and 2 tablespoons of chili oil. You can buy both of these ingredients from Asian grocery stores, or you can make them from yourselves. To make the sesame paste, just toast the sesame seeds in a pan over medium-high heat until they are very fragrant, about 2 to 3 minutes, and then grind them in a mortar and pestle. After you've mixed those 2 ingredients together, you can combine them with the rest of the stock to make it creamier and also give it that spicy flavor from the chili oil. Once the broth is boiling, slowly stir in the sesame chili paste until it's completely dissolved. Turn the heat to low until it's ready to serve, and then turn the heat up right before serving so that each bowl is nice and hot. Meanwhile, we're going to prepare the spinach. You can use other greens like bok choy, but spinach is super easy to find, so that's what I usually use. Bring a salted pot of water to a boil, and make sure that before you add the spinach, you have an ice bath ready. Add 1 bunch of spinach to the pot and cook for 30 seconds, then immediately remove and place in the ice bath. After shocking the spinach for about 2 minutes, you can transfer it to a cutting board and cut it into 4 to 5 sections crosswise. We want the noodles to be fresh, so we're going to cook them last. I'm using ramen noodles from J-Basket, and they only take 3 minutes to cook, so I always make sure that I have the broth and pork ready before I start boiling the noodles. Also, only cook as many noodles as you need because they're much better fresh. Once all the components are prepared, you can start assembling the bowls. Place the freshly cooked noodles in a large bowl, top the noodles with pork, and pour over the hot broth. Top with blanched spinach, green onions, and sometimes I do a jammy egg as well, or an ajitama if I prepare that ahead of time. Ramen is meant to be eaten very quickly, so enjoy the bowl while it's hot, and if you are going to be waiting a little bit, make sure that you preheat the bowls so that it stays very hot by the time you're ready to serve. Also, in my opinion, chopsticks and slurping is a must-have for the most enjoyable experience. Here are the macros for this dish. Not terrible, but also we can do better. So the next variation that I'm going to be showing you is a high-protein version of the original dish that still sticks true to most of the same flavors, but is lower in fat and higher in protein. The basic steps for the high-protein version are very similar to the original. We're going to start by grinding ground pork in a food processor. We're going to use pork loin instead of pork shoulder this time because it has a higher ratio of protein to fat. After grinding the pork, heat a wok over high heat for a few minutes, then add 1 tablespoon of chili oil. Again, only use the oil part and make sure you don't get any of the whole chilies in this stage. We're going to add the pork loin to the wok once the oil is hot and sear for 3 to 4 minutes undisturbed on the first side so it has a chance to brown and activate that Maillard reaction where we're going to get a lot of the flavor. Once it's brown and crispy on the first side, break it up and then add the garlic and ginger and cook for 1 to 2 more minutes. Add the dobanjang, soy sauce, dark soy sauce, and sake to the pork, and then we're going to cook for 3 to 4 more minutes until the pork and the sauce are all combined and glazed. Once that's done, remove all but 1/4 to 1/2 a cup of the pork from the wok, then pour in the soy milk and the chicken stock. Actually, this is beef stock, but yeah, we ran out of chicken stock. Bring that up to a simmer, and while that's coming up to a simmer, we're going to mix the tare. Instead of using sesame paste for this high protein version, we're going to use PB Fit. So it tastes like peanut butter, but instead of having 16 grams of fat per serving, it only has 2 grams of fat per serving, and the same amount of protein. So mix PB Fit with 2 tablespoons of chili oil, And then that's going to be our tare for the high protein tantanmen. After you've mixed the tare, incorporate it into the rest of the broth, pour the tare into the broth, and then use the extra broth to wipe up the last bit of the tare from the bowl. And then once more, keep that on low heat until everything is ready to come together. Boil the noodles again to package instructions, 3 minutes for the J-basket noodles. And we're going to serve this with the same toppings as last time. In a warmed bowl, we're going to add the noodles, the ground pork, the hot broth, the blanched spinach, the green onions, and I'm also going to do a soft boiled egg this time. This version is just as easy and as fast as the last tantanmen. Now you have a bowl of tantanmen that is much lower in fat and is loaded with protein. And if you ask any of my siblings, they'll tell you that this one is just as good as the original. In fact, I'm gonna give this bowl to my brother, which is one of the joys of being able to cook, being able to share it with your family. I hope you like this video and learned a thing or two about Japanese cuisine, and I hope you'll make both these recipes. The links to the recipes in my blog are in the description below, so don't forget to check those out. I'll see you next time, and don't forget, Jesus loves you.